Thanks.
Where's the, do we have time for that? Alderman's up because you're prosecuting. So let me explain to everybody, we apologize for the delay, but we were just ironing out some last details regarding the announcement that I'm going to make and the events as they will unfold over the course of today and tomorrow. And unfortunately, because of time, we're under great constraints on our pilots who are operating under a crew rest restraint. So we will not be able to take questions, but I'll have some time to talk with our press subsequently after this. And likewise, the foreign minister will have an opportunity to talk to the press here. So we apologize for that restraint, but it's imposed on us. Obviously, for me, it's a pleasure to be back here in Amman, where Foreign Minister Judeh and I have worked very effectively over several years now in dealing with the challenges of the tensions of the region and the conflict that exists. And I particularly want to thank His Majesty King Abdullah and Foreign Minister Judeh for their always very welcome, warm welcome, and the exhaustive personal efforts that both of them are putting into and do put into trying to resolve some of the region's most difficult and urgent issues, whether it's Syria and Iraq, ISIL, Daesh, or the long-standing conflict between the Israelis and Palestinians. And through all of these challenges, one constant has been enormously evident, and that is the constructive role, the very important key role that Jordan plays in trying to resolve each of these challenges. On a personal level, I'm very, very grateful to the friendship that I have with both His Majesty King Abdullah as well as with Nasser Judeh. And we, in our conversation today, made it very clear that in the next days, we will continue to remain very closely in touch. The Special Envoy to the Middle East, Frank Lowenstein, will stay here through today and tomorrow to continue the discussions in order to lay out a path ahead. And as we all know, Prime Minister Netanyahu will be visiting Washington in November 9th. So we have a number of meetings and events taking place over the course of the next weeks. Now, obviously, at this moment, we are all deeply concerned about the recent violence in Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza, and especially in Jerusalem. The United States strongly condemns the terrorist attacks against innocent civilians. There is absolutely no justification for these reprehensible attacks. And as I have said before, all the violence and the incitement to violence must stop. Leaders must lead. And it is important to stop the back and forth of language that gives anybody an excuse to somehow be misinterpreted or misguided into believing that violence becomes a viable option. It is not a viable option. Diplomacy and negotiation are the viable road ahead. Now, I have had very constructive meetings over the past few days, beginning with the meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu in Berlin, with Foreign Minister Judeh briefly yesterday, in Vienna and again today, and with President Abbas and King Abdullah this morning. All of them expressed their strong commitment to ending the violence and restoring the calm as soon as possible. I especially want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu, President Abbas, and our hosts here in Jordan for the seriousness of purpose that they brought to our discussions in furtherance of this effort of calming things down and ending the violence. And equally importantly, of finding a specific road forward so that we're not just ending violence for a moment, but we are creating a path to a legitimate future. Now, I hope that based on these conversations, we can finally put to rest some of the false assumptions, perceptions about the Haram al-Sharif Temple Mount. Those perceptions are stoking the tensions and fueling the violence, and it is important for us to end the provocative rhetoric and to start to change the public narrative that comes out of those false perceptions. The Haram al-Sharif Temple Mount is obviously important to the peoples of all three monotheistic faiths: Jews, Muslims, and Christians. And I am pleased that Prime Minister Netanyahu has reaffirmed Israel's commitment to upholding the unchanged status quo of the Temple Mount, Haram al-Sharif, both in word and in practice. This is not a comprehensive detailing of the understandings among the parties. I want to make that clear. Prime Minister Netanyahu will speak to this issue later tonight. But I just want to emphasize a few key points that he has stressed. One, Israel fully